Hello and welcome to this PriceAJob tutorial. In this video, we will look at a general overview of PriceAJob.ca and how it can save your time and effort when it comes to project management, estimating, and accounting for any Canadian residential building project. PriceAJob is remarkable cloud-based construction estimating software with incredible versatility and pinpoint accuracy that cuts quotation times down from hours to minutes. Designed by a team of architects, quantity surveyors, legal consultants, web designers, and software professionals, it is as thorough as it is easy to use. Whether you're on a mobile device, tablet, laptop, or desktop, PriceAJob travels with you to provide you the tools you need when you need them. Getting started is easy. You don't need to register or provide a credit card to jump right in to a test demo project. I'm going to log in for this tutorial to show full access to suppliers' price lists and remove the demo watermark from the final reports. PriceAJob is organized in a series of tabs across the top navigation bar. You have a company tab with all of your company details, a project tab with various project details, an estimate tab where you actually build your construction estimates, a scheduling tab that helps you to schedule your work, and an accounting tab with a variety of accounting tools. Let's start by taking a look at the Company tab. On the left, you'll see a navigation pane with a variety of tools that we can use to update our company details, starting with Company Setup. Here we can start by uploading our company logo, or we can just keep the placeholder that comes with PriceAJob. Here we can input our company name, as well as our company address, email, website, telephone, mobile number, and business number. If your company is tax registered, you can select Tax Registered here, and then input your tax number. This will instruct PriceAJob to add the tax after your subtotals on all your various estimates. If you're not tax registered, tax will be applied to material, plant and tool, and other costs as you go, but will not be applied to labor. You can change these settings later, but for now we'll just input a company tax number. Here we have our accounting information, and we can input our fiscal year, our starting invoice number, our starting payment number, our last job number, our job number prefix, and payment details, including our direct deposit information. And then we can set our default profit margins. Currently, our margins are all set to 0%, so let's increase this to about 20% for each. We can do this by either adjusting the sliders, or just inputting a value here manually. And now these default profit margins will be used on all of our estimates, unless we override it. Next, let's take a look at the Customers tab. Here's where we can add all of our various customers, and we can do that just by clicking Add Customers here. When we do so, we can give our customers a name, an email, telephone contacts, an address, city, province, postal code, and as well we can add extra fields if we wish to. If there's any notes that we have regarding this customer, we can enter that here. At the top here, we have 4 different tabs for this customer. This is their general contact information. We can also see their statement of account, other documents, and this is a convenient place where we can store documents relating to this customer. PriceAJob allows up to 2 gigabytes in online storage, and you can access from any mobile device since it's based in the cloud. And lastly, if you have any notes regarding this customer, you can input that here. When possible, it's also a good idea to upload a photo of your customers so you can quickly identify the decision maker on site. Next in the navigation bar, we have a Staff tab, and here we can add our staff. So we'll just go ahead and add a staff member here, and we'll input our staff member Alex. And again, similar to the customers, we can upload a photo of our employee here and enter their full name, job title, email, and contact info. Under additional details, we can also input their employment status, either full or part-time, date of birth, gender, marital status, and date of start. There's also a section for some notes here under their general personal information. We also have across the top here tabs for payments, timesheets, skills, rates, documents, and additional notes. Next in the navigation tab, we have a section of management tools, starting with photos. And this is where we can upload any photos and organize them by folders relating specifically to our company. And again, this will share 2 gigabytes of cloud storage, along with any other documents that we upload for customers, staff, or other projects. We also have a documents folder here, where we can upload documents relating to our company, such as a certificate of incorporation or any other details that are specific to our company. And we can organize these in a series of folders, and these will be part of our 2 gigabytes of shared storage. Next in the management tools, we have a to-do list. And here we can add new tasks to our to-do list. We can create a series of tabs across the top, And then for each of these tabs, we can add tasks to our to-do list. And save. We can then assign each of these tasks a status to help us keep track of what's been completed and what tasks are still pending. Next, we have a Suppliers tab here. And this is where we can add new suppliers. And here at the top, rather than a photo, we might upload the supplier's logo. And then here we can specify their category, customer number, address, contact details, account type, credit limit, as well as any notes that we want to add. We can also add custom fields to this list by clicking the plus icon and then choosing the type of field that we want to add. And we'll cover this in more detail in a future video. Here we have tabs for payment details, orders, documents, and notes. Then we have a management tool here for subcontractors. And again, we can add a new subcontractor. And similar to the suppliers, we can upload the subcontractor's logo, input their company number and contact details, any custom fields we'd like to add, any additional notes, and then across the top we have tabs for payment details, accounting information, jobs, documents, and notes. The next management tool that we have here is Plant Manager to help us manage our equipment. So here we can add a piece of equipment to our inventory. And to help us identify this specific piece of equipment, we might want to take a photo of it and upload that image of it here. We can give it a specific title, model number, serial number, cost, purchase date, service due date, location, and status. We can also track its history, view any reservations, add extra documents, and make additional notes. Then the last management tool we have here is Fleet Manager to help us track our vehicles. And very similar to the Plant Manager, we can input our vehicle here. And again, it's a good idea to take a photograph of our vehicle and upload the image here. And then we can input the license plate, assign a driver from our employees, input the year, make, color, cost, purchase date, inspection date, tax date, warranty dates, and insurance dates. There's also tabs for the history of the vehicle. And we can input specific events in the history of the vehicle, including maintenance, repairs, service, inspections, sales, accidents, scrapped, or other. There's also a section here for vehicle-specific documents and any notes relating to this specific vehicle. Next, we have a section here in the admin bar for resources, starting with tradespeople. And here we can see a list of the most common tradespeople that we use in the construction industry, along with their recommended hourly rates. And these rates can be shown as either hourly or daily by choosing the selector here in the top right. So if we want to see the hourly rates, we'll just select hourly, and we can see that an apprentice bricklayer is recommended to be paid approximately $24 an hour. But you'll notice that on the map here that we've selected the Ontario region. So in the Ontario region, an apprentice bricklayer is paid at $24 an hour. As you select different regions on the map, you can see that the hourly rate changes to reflect local hourly rates. So PriceAJob attempts to factor in these rate differences here on the tradespeople rates map. In these rate columns, we have both default rates and project rates. So currently the default is set to an Ontario rate. But if most of our work is going to be done in Alberta, then we might want to copy the recommended rate to our default rates. And to do that, we simply click Copy Rates here on the right, and we can copy the recommended rate to our default rates. And just click Agree to change the rate. And so now our default rates will all be calculated based on the Alberta rates. If we're working on a specific project, and it might have a different rate, say we're doing a job in New Brunswick, but most of our work takes place in Alberta, we might only want to copy this rate to our specific project rate for now. So to do that, we would again just copy rates and copy recommended to the project rate. And then we can update the project, and now these rates will be copied to the project that we're currently estimating. For now, let's leave our map set at Ontario, and we will copy the recommended to both our default rates and our project rates. And we'll update our project. Next in the resources section, we have materials tool. And this opens the PriceAJob materials library, which includes thousands of materials that are used throughout hundreds of different construction tasks. Across the top, we can filter these materials by all, aggregates, lintels, doors and joinery, roofing, landscaping, electrics, plumbing, flooring, concrete, timber, and a variety of other categories of materials. To search for a specific material, we can use the search field here. For example, we might search for a waterproof polymer, and if that material doesn't appear within the Price a Job library, we can go ahead and add our own. So here we'll just give our material a title, and input the unit by which it's purchased. And that might be either by the roll, or each, or by the liter. In this case, we'll probably buy this by the liter. And then we can input the pricing, assign it to a category, and then attach the web page link that shows the specific product from the vendor that we'll be buying it from. And then we can go ahead and click Save. When you're done, it will be added to the Price a Job materials library to look much like these other materials here as well. To see a list of materials that you added manually to the Price a Job library, you can click My Library here, and this will filter the results to show a list of materials that you added. And we can update this by clicking on the title, the price, and we can also input a supplier. If we don't see our supplier listed in the drop-down field here, we can add a new one. We can also add a materials link to go to the vendor's website, or delete this from our library. To go back to see all Price a Job materials, we can click All Materials. Next, under the Resources tab, we have a labor library. And very similar to the Materials library, this library categorizes thousands of various labor tasks that are performed on various construction jobs, such as grouting large tiles, grouting medium tiles, grouting mosaic, grouting small tiles. And for each of these tasks, it's assigned to a tradesperson with an estimate in hours per unit, in this case 2 cents per square foot. And these calculations will be used by the project estimates to determine the labor involved for all the various tasks that we'll be inputting. And just like the materials library, we can search this library for something specific, and if we don't find it, we can add our own specific labor tasks here. Next, under the Resources tab, we have a Plant and Tool library. And this library contains hundreds of various pieces of equipment that we might use for various projects, such as rollers, combination hammers, impact wrenches, ladders, generators, or mortar mixers. And just like the other libraries, they can be sorted by categories across the top, or you can search for a specific piece of equipment, and if you don't find it, add your new plant or tool to the library. And there's also a section for other costs. And this library contains some of the miscellaneous items that might be accounted for that don't neatly fit into either materials, labor, or plant and tool, such as accommodation, architects, building inspection, delivery charges, designers, or parking permits. And these are categorized across the top and can be searched as well, and new miscellaneous items can be added here as well. So that pretty much covers the Company tab. Next, let's take a look at the Project tab. This is the tab where you'll manage all of your various projects. Up at the very top here, we have a drop-down arrow which opens our project selection window. Eventually, we'll have many projects lined up in this window here, and we can select the one that we're looking to manage. As a default, Price a Job already has our first project listed, but we can add new projects just by clicking here. We'll call this one Second Project. And that's added to the list. You can organize your projects in various folders, or sort them by specific customers or status. For each project, you'll be asked to supply a project title, and there's a link here to download your project proposal. The job number is automatically assigned based on your job prefix that we set up in the Company Setup tab. Then there's the estimate date, the currency, the category, the status, as well as the customer details. And we can assign this to one of the customers that we input previously under the Company tab. So we'll assign this one to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And this will have the customer's contact details, and there's a separate section here for the address in case it's different from the customer's contact address. And it's not unheard of that as projects are in progress, that various changes are made. So rather than rewriting each proposal, you can just add a new version and either start new from a blank slate or copy the existing and just make any changes that you need to make. And this way, as the project develops, you'll be able to revert back to your various versions for reference if needed. Next, we have a section for tax and profit. And here we can override the default profit settings that were set under the Company Setup. And this would be project specific only. So if for this particular project we wanted to reduce or increase some of our profit margins, we could do that, and this will be calculated only for this specific project. We can also override our tax info for this specific project and specify if we'd like our materials, labor, plant and tool and other costs to be rounded. For example, if we needed 1.5 tubs of paint, we could set rounding to automatically estimate that as 2 pails of paint. Next, we have a location tab. And this opens a Google map with the site address shown. And if we need specific directions to get there, we can click this link to open it in Google Maps. Next, there's a section for rooms. And this can help speed up the estimate process later on by adding the various floors of the house and then measuring out each of the various rooms. By inputting the floor area, ceiling area, perimeter, height, and walls area, you'll be able to import this information into the estimate quickly as you're measuring out each of the various stages of the estimate. Then we also have some project management tools here, including Photos, which shares our 2 gigabytes of cloud storage. So this is where we could add any photos specific to this project. A tab for Documents, likewise shared storage. And again, this would be documents specific to this one project. Here's our to-do list, and we could create tabs to organize our to-do list. And here we could add tasks that are specific to this specific project. Then Timesheet. Here we can add staff members to our timesheet and then input their hours on a daily basis. And there's also a section for emails. And here you can choose from a variety of email templates to either send a quote, receive payments, or issue a new invoice. You can also create new templates here by selecting Save New Template, and you can send that directly from within PriceAJob. If you want to toggle between projects, you can select the drop-down arrow here, and this opens the projects window so you can switch between projects to show. Beside our project, we have 3 dots indicating a project details window, and here we have tabs for General, Tax and Profit, Versions, and Location. So under the General tab, we have basic project info, including the project title, job number, and other details, the customer information, and the site address. Under the Tax and Profit tab, we have our project-specific profit sliders that we adjusted for this project, as well as our tax information and rounding information. Under Versions, we can see the various versions that we've set up for this specific quote, and switch versions if we want to. Under Location, we see the Google map pinpointing the location of our worksite. And so that summarizes the Project tab. Next, let's take a look at the Estimate tab. And since PriceAJob is primarily estimating software, this is where most of the work takes place. To estimate the cost for a project, you start by creating a first module, and you select that from the various modules listed across the top here. Here you have categories for legal fees, preparation, excavating, concrete, brick and block walls, framing, openings, insulation, roofing, electrics, plumbing, HVAC, interior, exterior, carpentry finish, landscaping, and other costs. As a quick example, let's choose some framing, and there's a variety of subcategories here, such as wall framing external, floor joists, wall framing internal, sheathing, and subfloors. Let's do an estimate for a 2x4 stud wall. We can rename our module title here if we want, assign a location, and a category, and create. And this opens the wall framing module. Here within the Estimates pane, we have the left sidebar here, which will show all the various modules that we've estimated so far. At the bottom, we see a summary of our estimate so far, and we have toggles here to view by groups, or to show or hide our profit. There's also a settings icon here, which opens our project details window, which, as we know, we can also access by clicking the 3 dots here next to the project. On the right side, we have another window where we can specify all the measurements and settings for our estimate. Everything that we input here in this right-hand window will be displayed here in these center panes. In this center area, we actually have 3 separate windows. The first is the sketch window, which shows a sketch of the work that we're doing. And we can expand this sketch pane to full screen so we can have a better look. We'll just zoom out by scrolling on our mouse wheel here. And as we make changes to our various measurements, the sketch pane will automatically update to show the changes. If we click on our mouse, we can drag the image to look at it from all different angles, as this is a 3D graphic. If you maneuver the image into a position where you simply can't see it anymore, you can go ahead and reload the image so you can quickly see it properly. Let's click the X here to reduce our pane back to its regular size again. And next here we have a description pane. We can also expand this to full screen. And this section contains automatic descriptions. So as we're filling out the various information here in our side pane, the description is automatically updating as we're making the changes with nicely written descriptions for each aspect of the work to be performed. So for example, if we change the length of our wall to 16 feet, you'll see that our description has automatically updated to show a 16-foot wall. If we revert that back to 8 feet, you can see our description changes to reflect the new measurements. And as we fill out all the various stages of our estimate, the description will fill out to itemize every detail. If you want to add any specific notes, you can do so. And this opens a text editor here that you can type freeform notes with basic formatting tools, as well as bullets that you can indicate for inclusions, allowances, or exclusions. For now, we'll just close the notes window. And if at any point you want to turn the automatic descriptions off so that this description no longer is automatically responding to your inputs here on the right, you can deselect auto here. And now you can just select the specific note and freeform type whatever you want. When you turn the auto descriptions back on again, however, PriceAJob will not recall your overridden values as it will revert back to fully automatic. So if you have anything to input manually here, you should only deselect the auto descriptions at the very last step. And lastly here we have the third pane here called Estimates. And we can expand this as well to show our estimates on the full screen. And again, as we fill out our various information here, the estimate will be automatically updating with all the materials, labor, plant and tool, and other costs that we need to complete that stage. You also have the option of selecting from the drop-down to change the materials. There's a column that shows the percentage of waste, the quantity of materials needed, the price per unit, and the total price. If you're able to get any of these materials cheaper, you can go ahead and just simply override that price. And PriceAJob will highlight that overridden value in yellow as a reminder to you that you've overridden this value. If you need to revert this back to the PriceAJob library costs, you can open the cog icon here, and there's a reset button that you can use, and that will reset the pricing and any other overridden values to the PriceAJob library default. Also under the cog icon, you can visit the website for this specific material. So for example, these 2x4s have been sourced from Home Depot, and you can scroll down to get details such as the specifications and other details on this material. Also under the cog icon, we have a visibility toggle, and with this, you can remove all pricing from the estimate. The material itself is still listed, but the subtotal for this materials has been reduced. So you would use this in the case where you already have the materials and there's no cost attached to it. When we add visibility back in again, the cost of the lumber is added back in. Within each of these estimate tables, you have a breakdown of the materials with a subtotal and the associated labor. So PriceAJob has calculated that for an 8-foot by 8-foot stud wall, that will require this amount of lumber and nails, and that the installation of framing this wood stud wall will cost $227 per foot. At a quantity of 80 linear feet, the labor cost for this will be $181. The totals of the materials and labor for the stud wall alone are tallied here. So for sheathing, if we wanted to remove the sheathing, we could deselect this stage, and that would be removed from the estimate. So in this case, we do want the sheathing, so we'll make sure that that's checked in. And PriceAJob has automatically calculated the area to be sheathed at 64 square feet. If we'd like to see our cut list, we can view that here, and see the lengths of all of our various studs, stud quantity, length quantity, and off-cut measurements. For the stud wall itself, we can also deselect that stage if we want, and it's removed from the estimate. And here we have options to select the materials that we want to use, and if we want to add any extra to the quantity just for offcuts, we can do so. PriceAJob also asks us to specify the materials that we wish to use for the top and bottom plates and fire breaks, and again we can choose the specific materials for that, and add an extra quantity if we wish, and that's added to our estimate. For the sheathing, we can specify if we wish to use plywood or OSB, and then choose the materials that we want to use from the drop-down list. We can also specify how many layers we want to use, and by changing anything here within the stage, it's automatically updated here within the estimate. Currently, our accessories stage is blank, but if we want to add any accessories, we can select that here from the accessories select box, and this opens the PriceAJob library for accessories. So if we want to add extra construction screws, nails, OSB plywood, 2x4 lumber, 2x6, 2x8, or 2x10, we could simply select those from the library. So for example, let's pick up an extra pack of screws here just by clicking on that. That adds it to our accessories list. And if we need 3 boxes of that, we can just enter the quantity and then close the accessories window. And we see that our accessories estimate has been updated here to show 3 packs of screws totaling $27. And again, if we click under the cogs icon, we can visit the website to see where PriceAJob has sourced these materials from and see the various specifications of it. As we've been making all these various changes to our estimate, our totals have been adjusting here automatically at the bottom, as well as the module subtotal here beside the module. If you'd like to add another module from the same category, wall framing interior, you can just click Add and then select from the sub options. So in this case, we'll add another 2x4 stubbed wall. We might want to rename these ones. So let's go ahead and select the one that we just adjusted. And over here in the main stage, we'll select the title and we'll just add a modifier. We'll just call this one front. And then we'll switch to this new module that we just created. And for this one, we'll just call this one back. And this will help us to keep our modules organized as we fill out our list, because it's not unusual to have a long list of modules here in this left side pane. Within each of these stages, we also have the option to add new materials, add new labor, add new plant and tool, or add new other costs. So for example, if there's a material that wasn't automatically added, we can simply click Add New Material here, and either search from the PriceAJob library, the material that we're looking for, or we could just type it in freeform. Maybe we just call this wood glue. And then we could input the quantity and pricing manually here. If we decide we don't need that material after all, we can select the cog icon and just remove that. Another handy feature within the estimates pane is categories. And this is a series of filters by which we can filter materials, labor, plant and tool, or other costs. For example, maybe the customer is looking for an estimate for labor only. In that case, we can deselect any materials, plant and tool, and other costs, and we can go ahead and build our estimate as normal, but PriceAJob will only calculate the cost in this estimate for labor. Now these category filters are specific to this project only. If you wanted to change your filters for multiple modules, there is a global filter here. So here we can adjust the filters for each module, or across the top, we can adjust the filters for all modules. And if we want to change our defaults so that all new projects that we open from now on will quote only on labor, then we would deselect the materials, plant and tool, and other costs from the default. And now any new projects that we open will quote only based on labor. Because this current project is already open, if we want to filter this estimate, we'd have to deselect the materials, plant and tool, and other costs here. So let's make sure that all of our filters are activated and that we're quoting for all costs. Now let's add another module. We'll select from the categories across the top here. In this case, we'll choose concrete. And this time we'll add a concrete slab. And create the module. And this opens a new module for our concrete slab. And here we can see our sketch pane, which we can expand to full screen. And this shows us the concrete slab that we're estimating. And then as we deselect the various stages here, for example, if we deselect the membrane, that's removed from the sketch. If we deselect the rigid insulation, that's removed from the sketch. If we deselect the mesh, that's removed from the sketch. And we can even deselect the concrete slab, and that's removed from the sketch. So let's add our various stages back in here so we can see everything. And this can be a handy function because by toggling the on and off function of each stage, you can see it within the sketch to draw attention to itself so you know exactly what it is that you're estimating. In this specific module, we're asked to input the area in square feet. Now, if we know the area, we can just input that manually. But PriceAJob also includes a very handy tool called an area calculator. And so here we can select the area calculator. And this is a really useful tool for calculating areas and perimeters of irregular areas. So under our project tab, if we had measured our rooms in advance, we could click on the rooms tab here now, and we would see a list of all the rooms that we had already pre-measured, along with their floor area, perimeter, heights, and walls. But since we didn't do that, we'll just add an area manually here now. So we'll go ahead and click the plus button to add an area. And then we can choose the shape of the area we want to add. So we'll start with the easy one. We'll just start with a square area. And we can input the measurements, say this is 10 feet by 15 feet, and then save. And PriceAJob has calculated that this area is 150 square feet. And that's a pretty easy one. But if you're measuring an irregular area that wraps around and has various angles and contours, we can add the next area now. So now perhaps we might add a trapezoid. Now things start to get a little bit more complicated. So on the long side, we can say that that's 8 feet. And on the bottom, we can say that that's 10 feet. And on the short side, we can say that that's 5 feet. And then save that. And PriceAJob calculates the area of this trapezoid area and combines it with the area of our square area. So now we have a total area of 215 square feet. And let's add another area this time. But maybe we have a dig out for a sump pump. So let's add another square. And this will be just a small cutout in the floor, maybe 2 feet by 2 feet. But rather than adding to the floor, we actually want to subtract from the floor this time. So here, the operator, we're going to select this, and instead of adding, we're going to subtract. So we'll select minus. And then we can save this. And now minus 4 square feet has been added to our total area. So you can see that our total area has dropped from 215 square feet down to only 211. Because we have this section here as a cutout. And using this tool, you can calculate the areas of very complex shapes very quickly. When you're done, you can click Save, and your calculation is automatically added to the PriceAJob estimate. And if at any point you want to revisit your calculations to see how you arrived at that figure, you can just click the area calculator again, and all of your calculations are saved. If you need to edit any of these, you can just click on the edit icon and make the changes as necessary, and then save. If you need to delete any of these areas, you can just click delete to remove that line from the calculation. Once you've completed all your modules and input all of your estimate specifications, you can then go to the Reports tab, and here you can select from a variety of professionally written reports to share with your client. For example, here's the quote based on the estimate we just created. Here we have a section for the concrete slab with a subtotal of $2,600, with nicely written descriptions for each aspect of the work that needs to be performed. Here's a breakdown of all the materials and labor, and other costs. For the structure, we have the module for the interior wall framing, and again, the nicely written descriptions and breakdown of materials and labor. For each stage, we have a subtotal, and at the bottom, we have our grand total. If you prefer a simpler quotation, you can simply select Simple here at the side, and this removes all the itemized pricing of materials and labor. If we go back to Advanced, we have options to either include the descriptions, or remove them just for an itemized list, or we can include only the descriptions if we wanted to and remove the materials, and remove the labor. And now we just have a written description of the work to be performed with the totals shown. We also have control over the stage prices. We can hide the stage prices so that they are not shown for each individual stage, just the pricing is shown for the grand total. We can show the total only, or we can even show a detailed breakdown to show the breakdown of materials, labor, plant and tool, and other costs. There's also a variety of other features that we can use here on our estimates, but that's a bit beyond the scope of this general overview, and we'll cover that in another tutorial. Other reports that you can choose from include cover page, cover letter, summary, resources, bill of quantities, profit, payment schedule, orders, a professionally written legal contract, or a combine feature that'll let you combine various features. Make sure if you're sending something to your customer that you have not selected the profit report to send to your customer. Once you're ready to send your report, you can either print it or export it as a PDF, or export it as a Word document, or email it directly from within PriceAJob. There's a lot more to discuss regarding the estimates, especially for each individual module, but we'll cover those in future videos. For now, let's move on to the Scheduling tab. When you're creating a schedule, you can import from your current estimate or create a new schedule from blank. In this case, we'll import from the current estimate. And PriceAJob here has created a schedule for the wall framing and the concrete slab. We can see that the framing is estimated to take approximately 1.7 days and the concrete slab about half a day. And on the schedule, these are listed as being concurrent, meaning they are both being performed at the same time. If you need one task to be completed before the next task begins, you can click the link icon for the ending of this task and then drag it to attach to the link of the next task. And PriceAJob will automatically move that sequential task to begin after the first task has been completed. And you'll notice that although the wall framing is still only calculated at 1.7 days, rather than being completed in 2 days, it's now stretching out over almost 5 days. And the reason for that is that 2 of those days have fallen on a non-working weekend. So after the slab is complete, there's only a day and a half of time to work here, so the other quarter day is finished up on the Monday morning. You can adjust your working hours using the settings here in the top by working hours per day and setting your days off. There's a lot more to discuss about the Scheduling tab, but we'll cover that in another video. Lastly, we'll take a look at the Accounting tab. If you find you don't have access to any of these features, you can just go to your user profile here and select Shop, and you can upgrade your PriceAJob package to include the missing modules. So if you want to combine the estimating module with the accounting module, you could do so. But when you're combining modules, please note that the total cost would be $117 if you were to buy them separately. However, if you were to purchase the all-included package, there'd be significant savings. Plus, you'd have access to the full suite of PriceAJob tools. So generally, we recommend the all-included package. Let's head back to our Accounting tab. And here we can see accounting tools for an overview, a list of invoices, a list of payments, a list of credits, a list of expenses, our timesheets, our customers, profit and loss statements, customer activity reports, and statements of account. PriceAJob is intuitive and easy to use, and we hope this getting started video puts you on the right track. This has been a general overview of PriceAJob, but we'll go into further detail on each function in other videos. Thank you for watching this video, and we hope you enjoy using PriceAJob.